I'm taking some time off to build a new workshop, finish a bunch of projects, and get my together. But every now and then, you need a distraction. And I've been asked to make some wedding rings out of guitar strings. The first words out of my mouth were, hell yes, can I make the guitar strings out of gold and silver, perchance? The answer is yes. And this is that video. It's a digression. It's a small project that is breaking up the sheer, utter chaos of moving a lifetime's worth of tool collecting addiction. It is helping to distract me from the requirement to potentially sell some of my tools, which is, I think, against my religion. You need to help me figure out what that religion is actually called, but yeah. It's something that I hope you will enjoy. Let's make some 9-carat gold guitar strings. I'm not going to put them on a guitar. They would not work. Or would they?
Burn it.
My initial thought was to try and make a Mokume-Gane style ring with gold and silver, various different things. Mokume-Gane, basically wood grain metal. This is the sort of thing that I've ended up with. I have got various gauge gold and silver wires, and because I want variation in size as well as material. Little pin vise and a bearing. And essentially I'm going to hold the wire, if I can grab a hold of it, in the pin vise. Like so. And that is going to do the twisting for me. Bearing goes over there. And as this spins, it's not going to catch. This very strange pair of cutters just happens to have a nice hole that works well for me. While I spin the wire and create the tension required to get it nice and even by hand using a drill. In this case, I'm using fine silver, 0.3 millimeter wire on the outside. Another small pin vise will do the job. And that goes in the drill, and I become a lathe. Or, not a lathe, what am I? I'm the tool rest. I do wonder if you could make music with sterling silver strings. It would work hard, and it would have to be work hardened in order to take tension. Maybe somebody do the maths for me? I need to make sure that there's no loops, etc. I'm not standing on the end of that. Every now and then I stop just to push it along. Now, I know this is only tangentially related to guitar building, but it's fun. You're all aware that I strongly believe that dipping one's toes in a variety of crafts and art-based experiences can only make you into a better guitar builder. And for years I've been saying that I want to do more and more and more of that. I am going to be documenting this sort of stuff, but I will be doing it on a side channel. But this one, well, I had to do it. I had to. Oh, wrong way. I'm wondering at which point the friction will become a problem. I'm also realizing just how simple the actual process of making a guitar string could be. The metallurgy and finding of the various materials, etc., I'm sure would be less so. And there we go. Pull that over. Just temporary like, and I'm going to make a few more strings in different gauges and materials. With this first 9-carat gold string, I'm going to be twisting the wire around a core of 2, not 3, lengths of the wire. This time I'm taking all 3 and twisting them together like that before it goes in any vices, and yeah, that should be a little bit quicker and easier. I'm talking too much. Now, using multiple cores creates a characteristic twist. It does make this a little bit more difficult, but it creates a bit of a spiral like you will get on thicker guitar strings. Next up, a far chunkier, I think it's 0.8 of a millimeter section of 9-carat. This time I've put a bead on the end that will rotate inside the bearing. Now, all of the strings I've made go in the pickle pot. Essentially, this is a slightly acidic solution that is cleaning any grease and dirt off the strings. Before I do, the end of one of them keeps on popping out. Before I do anything else, I want to solder the ends so that my winds don't fall off. And in order to solder properly, I need to pickle it clean. Oh, I missed a piece. In you go. In the vat of acid. The pickle is cleaned off the metal with a bicarbon water mix, and then that is cleaned off with water. Now, I would normally use flux and chip solder to do something like this. I've got a lot of ends, and I'm going to end up using this. It's a syringe of pre-mixed silver solder and flux. You can get small amounts. For small jobs like this, it's perfectly fine. Now, I must admit I'm using this at least in part because it sticks to the end of the string, and getting little pallions of solder on here, well, that would be annoying. You all know I'm doing this at least in part because I get to burn stuff. Yeah. It's a statement, comment, fact. So the solder flows to where the heat is. So you warm everything up. Wait. There we go. You start at the metal end and get that warm, and then it starts to flow. There we go, that's all done. This now all goes back in the, well, you're supposed to quench it and then shove it in the pickle. And yes, my pickle pot is just a small crock pot. Well, that's pickling. I'm back to this plain section of gold wire. It's I want it as an unwound string, but it's a little bit chunky, so I'm going to anneal it. Basically, it's a little bit work hardened, a little bit hard in places, especially where I wrapped it around a bead. So because this is going to be a ring, this section could just be, it could be flatter and end on, running edge on, so that you can see it at the top of the ring, but it brings a little bit of continuity. I'm just going to run it through the rolling mill. There we go. It's that. This is actually really difficult to do. I should have a bigger flame on a bigger torch, but I don't have something like that. Really. Okay, so that, not ideal. Take that, quench it in water. Before I flatten that wire off, I'm going to run it through this D-shaped draw plate and just thin it down. Now basically the holes are slightly larger at the back, and as you pull the wire through, as long as it's been properly annealed, it reshapes it and forces it into the shape that you want. Also makes it longer. After it's been through the whole process, we've got a longer section of gold, and then through the rolling mill, going end over end. Now I'm just flattening this. If I had a better rolling mill, I'd probably be able to draw it down into finer round wire, but I don't. If you've got a spare rolling mill hanging around, get in touch. I've now got a flatter, oh there it is. I've got a flatter section of gold. It's thinner and closer, far closer to what a guitar string would look like in profile. And since that's going to be going around the ring finger like that, that is where I'm going to leave it. So I'm going to need to re-anneal it because this is now actually quite hard. And we're almost ready to start building these rings. Annealing thin wire is incredibly difficult. I am not good at it. This is not my profession. And yeah, it wants to melt, especially with the kind of torch that I'm currently using.
Melt.
Before we can get to building the ring though, we need a base. This is a section of silver sheet that I have flattened and thinned down. I want to build this pair of wedding rings essentially out of one piece of metal or contiguous sections of metal, so everything was one thing at one time and then separated and then worn by two separate people living their lives together. I am soppy like that. So I'm going to split this in half and make an internal ring onto which I can mount the strings. Now, the reason for this is it's textural as much as anything else. Yeah, I'm going to split this down, make the inside section of both of these rings, put them together next to each other, and then wrap the strings around both of them and then separate them if it all goes according to plan. Well, that is. I'm going to end up with two bands that are much wider than I want them to be in the end, the more to support the strings as I'm going through this process. All excess silver and gold, etc., will be melted down and recycled and reused. So I want the first one to end up there. Because of the strings, I don't want to deform any of the windings, etc. So I need to make these almost exactly the size that they're going to be in the end. Now the next one, sitting there on the S. Before soldering, I am going to work harden these. I want to create a spring in the ring so that when I'm soldering it, it's holding itself together. You cannot solder metal together unless it is perfectly touching everywhere that you want to solder. I'm going to go and find the coffee and then get on with beating this thing with a horn hammer. So I'm not deforming the metal, on the top at least, just gently going along and work hardening it. You can actually burnish as well with the right tools, but essentially I'm making this, I'm making it springy so it holds itself together. And then essentially with a very thin file, I'm just going in there, make sure that the joins are absolutely perfect. Once the filing is all done, the ring is put through Pickle to clean any oil or anything like that away from the joint. And I'm now putting on some flux. Heat the flux up a little bit. I'm putting some hard solder on the joint and knocking everything over. And then you go and heat the back of the ring up first. You want the solder to melt from both sides of the joint at the same time. And the reason for the binding wire is because as I release things, there you go. So the solder flowed, filled most of the joint, except right at the edge there. Okay, that's the size we're going for. After cleaning the rings up, we're a tad small on that one, which is what I'm after. That's just above the S. There we go. Now, because I want to basically turn these into a single ring, wrap the strings around them and then slice them in half, I'm going to burnish a flange, an external flange on the small one, an internal one on the big one, and I'm going to solder these together. It's gone through the pickle, and this is now ready to solder together. So basically, I will be able to I'll be able to have the pattern of the strings going across both rings, and yeah, they are a matched pair. Now, I am going to be sweat soldering the strings in place for security more than anything else. I'm going to basically coat the entire internal surface of the rings with solder, then wrap the strings around them, then heat the whole thing up. I used hard solder to solder the rings together, and I'm going to be using medium solder to do this next stage, which is going to solder these two things together, and in the end, the strings to the rings. After tidying up the rings, filing, sanding, cleaning, pickling, and I have taken the larger gold string, work-hardened it, spiraled it, put it in place, fluxed everything, and I'm now going to solder this as the basis from which to work all of the other strings in. And this is essentially sweat soldering. Doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to stay in place so I can build the other strings. Now there's a small amount of solder on the inside surface, but what I'm doing now is heating up all of the gold and silver to a point where it's about to melt. And at that point, everything fuses together without solder. The whole ring has been dipped in flux, and I need to, well, burn it. And I'm going to go through this process several times. I do not want to melt anything. And that is a very, very real danger. After a little bit more soldering and fixing up and filling of gaps, etc. I've got two rings that are basically in need of filing and fettling. Currently looks like it's not going to be a very pretty ring, but it will be. After an initial cleanup and sanding, I'm moving on to a burnisher. I don't want any sharp edges or bits and pieces that catch. And frankly, burnishing metal is a really good way of getting a nice finish. And in the case of a ring with this texture, it helps to just clean things up, push the metal slightly out of the way. Plus, you know, looks great. If you're focusing, can you see? I think you can see. This is also work hardening the ring, so it's going to be more durable, and it's doing that without resizing it, which is nice. Here we are after an initial polishing and a bit of a clean through the ultrasonic. This is not the final iteration. Before the final polish, I am going to dip these in some acid. Yeah, burning stuff and playing with acid. What could go wrong? All right, so this is the patinating fluid, which is dangerous, hence the gloves, and that is water and a bicarbonate of soda in order to neutralize the acid. And the acid does that. Pretty quickly. It's all about contrast. Now, final polishing to show some silver, leaving the black patination in the gaps. That was an incredibly fun project. I've wanted to make jewellery for decades at this point. I'd like to congratulate Anthony and Sylvia on their upcoming nuptials and thank them for getting in touch. They had no idea that I would be interested in doing this, or that I had been slowly accumulating all the tools and bits and pieces required. Yeah. So, pretty awesome. If anybody else is interested in custom jewellery like this, everybody needs a side gig, so get in touch. There are a multitude of skills that go across jewellery making and guitar building. A lot of inlay work, inlay techniques, etc. They are totally transferable. The use of precious metals in inlay and various other places. Jewellery is often plated, as is guitar hardware. If you're remotely interested, I would suggest have some fun doing this. You will not regret it. Don't necessarily go as rabbit holey as I do, but I heartily recommend. Thank you for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your week. I will be back. The videos are going to be more sporadic while I get my shit together, but they will be here. There will be builds. Have a good one. Goodbye.